Hi there. Welcome to AfterTheWell, the conversational podcast where you'll learn to realize the everyday encounters that seem mundane have the ability to transform your very existence. My name's Melissa Lappin, and I am so glad that you've chosen to join me and my friends as we chat about how we hear God in our everyday lives, because we're everyday people. We might laugh a little, we might cry some, but know that you're going to go away encouraged by the stories that we share. Thank you for joining us on this episode. Welcome to AfterTheWell. Hey everybody, welcome back to AfterTheWell. Thanks for joining us again on another podcast episode. Today I have my friend Tonya Williams with me. We've known each other through Zoom class. We both attend a mutual school online, and I just think she has a fantastic story, and so I wanted to bring her on here today to just be able to share her story and her journey and the things she's learned from it and how she's helping, just taking the opportunity to help other women and people in general to just live life on the everyday and enjoy the life and take advantage of living. And so, Tonya, how are you today?
I am wonderful. How are you?
Good. I am doing well.
Good.
Thanks for being a guest on my podcast today. I know this
Thanks.
is the second time we've tried to do this.
Let's just let them know I'm the one with technical difficulties. So the fact that I'm here and on the camera, yay, God. So.
If it wasn't for my husband, I wouldn't even have a camera or a podcast. So we're both doing good today. So I just want to give you free rein to tell your story. We've talked, and you know that AfterTheWell is just my platform to be able to give people a voice to talk about how they meet God in their everyday, whether it's through dreams or through encounters or through, wisdom that they gain from someone else that just helps us, live our life to the best that we can. And so I know that, quite a few years ago now, you had a diagnosis of breast cancer. And y'all, just for those of you listening, this is not going to be a Debbie Downer of an episode, because this story is freaking amazing. And it's just a beautiful story, and Tonya tells it so beautifully. And so I really, really hope that you stay engaged. Don't shut it off, or, don't tune out. But just go for it, Tonya. Tell a little bit about your story, and then we make sure we hit the high points of the things that you're doing now, too.
All right. To tell a little bit about my story. So yes, it's been a good long while since the diagnosis. So those of you that may be looking at me and see that I wear my hair pretty low, hair didn't want to come back the way I wanted it to, so I choose to keep it low. I actually feel more confident, if you will, with this look because it's just so much thinner than it used to be. But to tell this story, I actually, I go back to, there was a pain in my breast, which that was something that nobody had ever talked about, there being pain associated with breast cancer, and there was a lump. Now, the thing about it is I played basketball through high school and a little bit in college, and so, I took a lot of blows to the breast, and so for me, I'm thinking, lumpity bumpity, I'm getting a little bit older. Was the pain somehow related to my menstrual cycle? So I actually did not go to the doctor for 4 months. I had this pain off and on for 4 months. When I eventually did get to the doctor, again, just going to my general practitioner, it's like, well, you're not quite 40 yet, but let's go ahead and get your mammogram. And so then all of the things that go with that. Oh, well, we don't see everything so well. Your breast tissue is pretty dense. Let's go ahead and do an ultrasound. Oh, okay, well, I think we probably should do the biopsy. So all of the little steps. Now, I will say that before I ever went to the doctor for the very first time, you mentioned dreams, and that's how I encountered God, but I didn't know that at the time. 3 weeks before the very first appointment, I was having these reoccurring dreams. And in the dreams, I was being told, I would be encountering doctors and they were telling me that there was cancer in my body. The very last dream in particular is really the only one that I remember, and it's the most significant, is that I'm going to the doctor and I sit down, and it's more like a regular office type setting, mahogany desk. I'm sitting in this big leather chair, and he's just looking serious and somber, and he tells me that it's cancer and we're going to do radiation, we're going to do a lumpectomy and this amount of chemo. And in the dream, I'm leaning forward and I'm smiling at the doctor the entire time that he's talking. And eventually he turns into Charlie Brown's teacher. Wah, 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 wah. And so I'm not hearing his words, but I'm still smiling. And he closes the folder and he looks at me, and I said, "Oh, are you done?" "Yes." "Okay, I'm going to take this to my great physician and I'll see you guys later." And I get up and leave. And that's my dream. All right. So again, 3 weeks after that point, I'm now doing all of those things that I just mentioned. And it was December the 18th, and I got a phone call from the doctor's office saying, "Oh, we have your pathology report, and Dr. Angela would like for you to come in." And I have to tell you, the only thought that crossed my mind was, now how do you get glory, God, with there being cancer in my body? I genuinely did not understand how I was going to magnify God. And now what you don't know is that my father had passed away of cancer 2 years prior. My grandmother had passed away of cancer when I was 5 years old, but that was so seared in my memory that, that one got me really good. So everyone that I've loved and had been diagnosed with cancer had died. But I wasn't fearful. As I said, my original question to God was, how do you get glory? And how are you going to fix this? Because in my mind, he has always been and always will be bigger than any sickness or disease. And I just believe the promises that you're already healed. It's already done. So I go into this appointment, and the lady, very petite woman, very motherly figure. I'm sure they probably use her as the one to give news. But she did. She stood there and looked so pitiful. And she said, "Well, would you like to have a seat?" I'm like, "No, I'm going to stand. I think better on my feet." And in my head, I'm just like, "God, what is she getting ready to say?" And she said, "Oh, are you Tonya Williams? Is this your date of birth?" "I'm sorry, it's cancer." I'm telling you, Melissa, on the inside, I was jumping up and down because God spoke to me in a dream. I was more excited about having had an interaction with God than what this woman just said. It's cancer. And I'm looking out the window past her, and my eyes are wide, and I'm thinking there was a smile on my face. And she doesn't say anything. She's kind of looking at me. She's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So then she looks at the report and she says, "Well, Dr. Angela has seen this report and she wants to do a lumpectomy and radiation." And she starts to say the exact same things that I heard in the dream. By this point, I'm undone. I'm like, "Oh my God." Oh, I'm smiling. There's nothing but joy that's coming off my face. And she's looking at me confused, and I'm like, don't worry about it. I got a great doctor, and everything's going to be all right. And she's just looking at me. And I said, "Well, do you need a hug?" Yeah, I think so. So I'm hugging the doctor so that she can feel better about my diagnosis. Because again, it's just before Christmas. It's actually a couple of weeks before my 39th birthday. So, you know, that could have wrecked a lot of people. That could have messed with you.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, I had faith. Well, probably a lot of reasons how I had faith. But yeah, so I didn't want to do the traditional route. And there's so much, I don't know if I can talk a little bit about that part or not.
Yeah. This is an adult podcast. You say whatever you want to say.
Well, I already knew that I didn't want to work with this Dr. Angela lady just because she was very, she was just rough, she was rough. And for me, I didn't ever even like taking an aspirin, let alone taking chemo. So in my head, I was already thinking about what are my alternatives. Eventually, I had to come back and see her maybe a few days later. I guess it must have been after Christmas. And my husband was with me. And so I'm there in the exam room and she's telling me what she's going to do. And I said, well, I hear you, but, I know that there's some alternative treatments. Can you tell me about that? And she folded her arms and she scowled at me. She said, this is the treatment for cancer. I'm like, you know what? We're done. Thanks, but we're done. And I recognize now that that is something that happens all the time. I mean, it just happens all the time. And I hate that. I hate that people are bullied into making choices.
Yeah.
Well, is it a choice? It's either a yes or a no. I guess that's all that you have. So they're not willing to work with you to find the best treatment for you. So I went home that day and certainly started my research. And out of that research, I came across Cancer Treatment Centers of America. I didn't know anything about them other than, what I saw on the internet. So we weren't TV watchers and I didn't see a commercial and anything like that. But when I called, we talked with that representative. I talked to that representative approximately 40, 45 minutes. I mean, she just gave me a lot of information. She answered my questions. Just great. And when I was ready to hang up, I said, you know what? My husband is going to probably have his own questions. Is there a way that I can call this number back and ask for you specifically? And she says, oh, no, I'll be off work by then, but let me give you my cell phone number. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? So needless to say, that was kind of a clue, the first clue, like, oh, maybe I really should come and work with them. And they actually do work really hard to treat the whole person. And once we showed up there, even they ran all of their own tests. I mean, they actually looked to see if cancer was anywhere else in my body. This other lady was not doing that. She was treating breast cancer. Unfortunately, there wasn't any other signs of cancer anywhere else. But each time that we would meet with the different personnel, with the surgeon, with the other oncologist doctor, with the pain management, we met with the chiropractor, we met with an acupuncturist. At every one of those stops, they offered to pray with us. They offered, if you decide to work with us, we think this is what, based on your type of cancer, based on this type of medicine, we've seen it do this in this number of cases. It was my choice. And I so appreciated that. And so that was the route that I ended up taking. And for me, that involved several weeks of chemo on the front end and then surgery. I did opt to do a double mastectomy because I'm like, I'm not doing this again. We're not having this whole thing happen in the second breast. And because I dislike surgery so much, if we couldn't put something back in there while I'm on the table the one time, then I ain't coming back. So I opted to live a flat life. Now, what's funny, though, as I say that, I'm not doing it a second time. The day of surgery, I've come out, I've recovered, or I'm recovering, and the doctor comes to see me maybe 4 or 5 hours later. And he's kind of just pressing around. He's like, wait a minute, there's a little too much fluid here. It's like, oh, we're going back in. I'm like, wait a minute, I signed up for one surgery today. Wait, what are we doing? So basically, some blood vessels weren't fixed properly. And so there was too much fluid filling up in my chest cavity. So they went back in to fix that. And here I am. There was more chemo. There was more protocol. I call it protocol because, Melissa, I never owned the diagnosis.
I was hoping you'd get back around to saying that.
Yeah, I never owned it. It was information for me. And so to this day, I can't tell you what I took. I don't know what cocktails they gave me. I don't even know what stage it was because it was irrelevant to me.
Right.
I have all my medical documents and I could go and read it for you, but I don't know. And because my children had been going with me to these different appointments, they were, oh my gosh, 7 and 9, I think. I homeschooled. So they were always with me because my husband was traveling for work most of the time. So when I received the diagnosis, I came home and had them sit on our bed. And I said, okay, we've got some news. We got some information now. And my youngest son did a little drum roll on my nightstand. And I said, well, they say it's cancer. And his little shoulders dropped. And he's like, you have cancer? I'm like, no, baby, you will never hear me say I have cancer. I've been diagnosed with cancer. That just means it was found in my body. I genuinely believe that God will take it out of my body. Now, there's a lot of things I don't know. I don't know what kind of treatment I'm going to do, if I'm going to receive any treatment at all. I don't know if I have to receive treatment, what kind of patient I'm going to be. There's a lot of things I really don't know at this point, but here's what I do know. I trust God, and you should too. And so my kids are sitting there, and they look at each other, and they look at me. Okay. And they hop up and go out the room to go back to play. My husband, who is sitting there as well, is like, are you okay? I'm like, did you not just hear what I just said? We're good. Do you see me? I'm good. There ain't no tears here. So what is interesting is I don't think I told him the dream for well over a year. And it wasn't an intentional omission. At least I didn't feel like it was. But yeah, so that is my story.
And I love that. I think that's so empowering. And I love just the honesty of your faith in that. Because especially in a faith-based community, and we all know that there is a wide range of demonstrations of that faith in our culture. You have the people who run around, name it and claim it. And you have the other end of the spectrum of people who absolutely refuse to go to the doctors because they believe God will heal them, and they get out of all the things when they sign a religious waiver that, it says it's against my religion to have a physical for my children and all, and we just kind of lose our mind when it comes to like healthcare and just believing and having simple faith. And I heard a pastor say one time that the average Christian has more faith for a salvation than they do a healing.
Yeah.
And we do. There are some ministries out there that do, healing ministries, and they focus on that, and they've seen results of that. But in our day-to-day, we don't have to accept what WebMD tells us, and what TikTok and Facebook and all the things, and I've seen it. And I'm not throwing shade on anybody, and if you want to chat about it, hook up with me and we'll chat about it. But I have noticed recently, especially since the pandemic, sorry, not sorry for saying it, people have just kind of lost their minds about, especially about mental health and around the things that they believe. And it's like, hi, I'm Sally and I'm ADHD and this is how I manage it. I'm like, well, Sally, let's just not claim that we have ADHD, that kind of thing, or my anxiety. And I like digital planners, and now there's digital planners specifically for ADD people and high anxiety people. And I'm like, why are we claiming? And then the thing that I see a lot too is, here's a new fear unlocked. And I'm like, why?
Wow.
People will say that stuff, So they'll see, some kid choked on a hot dog and they're like, here's a new fear unlocked. My child will never eat hot dogs. And I'm like, why do we partner with the negative? Why do we accept the things? Why can't we just say, okay, I hear the words coming out of your mouth, but my God says, and we just have that mind shift, and then it becomes mind over matter. It becomes a faith in our hearts, and we don't have to partner with the negative diagnoses, with the negative comments, I could rant for hours because it's so frustrating,
Yeah.
and it's not, a lot of it too is not just about our health, it's about like our finances, the economy.
Yes.
Everybody now is, it's getting bad, it's gonna get bad, you gotta prep for everything, start canning food, and like, that's not what God says,
Right.
And so I love that part of your story where you're just like, and I think we've talked about this before, that I think your faith would have been the same had you not had those dreams, because that's just the kind of person you are. That you hear like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but my God says,
Yeah.
and this is the faith I'm having. I think the dream was just a little extra something, just for you to hang on to. And,
Yeah.
it just made it more special and kind of put, I wouldn't say joy into it, but for me, it took the downer part away, because you're like, oh, I know how this turns out. I've already had a dream about, and so you were able to, in turn, turn around to this person and say, do you need a hug?
Yeah.
You tell people they have cancer all day long. Can I give you a hug?
Yes.
So
Exactly.
I think that's fantastic.
I will say I actually write about that in my book. So I am, coming very, very close to the end of this book. Praise God. Yes, yes, yes. And one of the neat things about writing your own book, and it just depends on how you want to go about it, but I've been blessed to have a writing coach who's allowed me to explore what it's like to partner with Holy Spirit and revisit those moments and figure out what could have been a plausible thing that I might have said or they said, or what the room could have looked like, or what smell did I come across my nose, and that kind of thing. And so in that interaction with the doctor, more of my internal thinking would have been, man, why does she look so pitiful? It's just a diagnosis. And wow. Yeah. And to your point, just what you said, this is what she gets to do every day. Lord, let me pray with this woman, because she's got a crummy job. And unfortunately, it looks like this is the way that she approaches it, with, oh no, doom and gloom. It's just information. Praise God that you got it. Now, let's move forward. So for me, cancer, and I'm going to say this, and I realize a lot of people may disagree, and that's okay. My understanding of cancer is it is inconvenient. Now, yes, it's a big inconvenience, but I tell this story, or I try to give the example of, we're inconvenienced when, I had this thought, I want to run to the store and pick up something real quick. And you get in your car, and then there's this road construction and you've got to take a detour. And maybe you've got to take multiple detours. And you get to the store and come to find out they don't even have the product that you went for. Now you got to go a little bit further. I understand it's cancer. I have seen the ugly side of cancer. I am not dismissing other people's journeys and the journeys of their loved ones. I understand. But to your point, when you say that if I'd never had the dream that I would still have the faith, yeah, 100%, because to me, all illness is inconvenient. And there are layers to inconveniences, no doubt.
Yeah, for sure.
Major layers. But if you've been on the earth longer than 5 minutes, you've had some experience with overcoming. You've had experience with pain and then not being in pain. You've had experience with joy. And so you can pull on that. You draw on that for your current circumstance. Okay, God, you were faithful here. And even if you didn't know him, and if you don't know him to be faithful, if you look at how you came out of that thing, did you really do that? Was it really you? Maybe, but how were you equipped? There was an equipping that took place. And again, so if you allow yourself to remember how you were able to move through a circumstance that you really didn't think was possible, but you did. So whether it was a pandemic and all the ailments that came with that, if it was the flu, if it was diarrhea, if it's cancer, all inconvenient, and you are well able to get to the other side of it. So
yeah, and I think that comes back to again, just our thought process and our mindset of what do we really believe about Jesus?
100%.
Who do we really believe that he is? Not was, but is. And who we are in him. You know, and that everything is present tense and it's current, and the Bible's not just a cool storybook, you know. And I think this country just has a crisis of faith that we just don't understand that we you know, especially here in the South where I live. I mean, there's a church on every corner, you know, and
Yeah.
it's just. But also, and I noticed it the other day, I was having the conversation with God, that you talk about construction being inconvenient. Girl, around Metro Atlanta, oh my God. And the next time you come out to Hiram, you won't recognize it. It's just...
I've heard.
It's insane what's happening out there. But what's going up? Car washes and medical buildings. Why?
Okay.
Why so many medical offices?
Yeah.
You know? And cancer centers. There's some buildings that are, you know, cancer treatment centers and things. It's not the Cancer Treatment of America or whatever, but they are, that's what they specialize in. And it's just, it hurts my heart that we have so many people that say they believe in God, they believe in Jesus and that what he did on the cross. Well, the part of what he did on the cross was he died for our sickness so that we can be healthy. And to get that and to partner with that and not, and I get the reality of the mess you're going through. You know, it's like you've seen the ugly side of cancer. You get it. We're not saying it's, you know, it's not a big thing. It is a big thing. When it's happening to you, it's a big thing.
It's just not bigger than God.
Exactly. And so, and I think a big part of that too is helping our mindset is what you're doing. And I want to transition into the your powerful care box Can you talk about that and how that got started and what that's going to look like? Because is it already a thing, or is it something that it's in the works?
What I'm doing is currently in the works. Yes,
Okay.
there are people that
Okay.
are making, supplying. Yes, some of them are called cancer care boxes, whatever, various names for these curated. Some of them are curated, some of them just don't look so curated. Subscription type boxes, either one
Okay.
time purchases or if you would like to give the gift monthly, 3 months, 6 months, however long. And that's what I will be offering. And it is called My Powerful Care Box. And so power, I'm using as an acronym, and it's a full care box, FULL. And how did I come to that? Well, it was actually a discussion with someone because the Lord actually speaks to me in acronyms a lot. So I'll hear a word and then I'll immediately just boom, 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 see something in it that's a message. And so I also had the thought of being able to include what I'm calling PowerPoints in every box. And these words are meant to be words of encouragement, words of, adjusting mindset. So I'm so appreciative of you bringing that out because that's exactly what I hit. Yes, there will be the very practical things included in the boxes, especially for your one-time purchase. It will be all the necessities. And so if you've never been through this or not encountered anyone that has, there will be things like, okay, just to be real, barf bags. When you're traveling in the car, you need something more than your local Kroger or Publix bag to puke in. You need
Right.
something
Yeah.
designed to catch what you need to catch. Certainly the lotions, the lip balms, water bottles, you got to stay hydrated. Ginger candy to help with that nauseousness. Lap blankets. It doesn't matter, if it's 100 degrees outside. If you've had some of that stuff run through your veins, you're chilled to the bone. You're going to need some gloves, some fuzzy socks, little things and other things like that. And of course, apparel, zippered hoodies, pajamas, because really that's what you want to wear. There are times, when you're feeling great and you want to get dolled up kind of thing, but most of the time it's about being comfy and being at home. And so those are the types of things that'll be included in the box.
Very cool. And you have a link to that, right? All of that?
I do. It's
Okay.
in the works. It's in the works. It'll be
Okay.
the initial thing you will find would just be a landing page where I will ask for your email. My goal is to launch December the 1st. I really thought it would have been a lot sooner, but I got a few other things going on.
Yeah.
And I do want it to be a beautiful experience. Yeah, I could throw those things in a USPS mailbox and, a box and send it, but I want it to be something like what I would want to receive. So it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
Very cool. Very cool. So we will have a link to that in the show description, to that landing page, if you're cool with that. So anybody listening who would be interested in doing that, will help promote that.
Thank you.
And get that out there. And then let's talk about, you're an audiobook reader. I love that. 'Cause your voice, I found myself when you were talking earlier, there was just something calming because you've talked to me enough and seen me talk. I'm just like, blah, 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 blah. But there's something about you that I just want to slow down too,
I hear that a lot.
I love that. Yeah. It's just because I'm not like hyper go. I am a doer, and I do like to, and I get excited because I'm an external processor. And so sometimes I just like word vomit all the things, and it's like, ugh, okay, let's just chill, And so it's very comforting for me to,
Yes.
I just want to lay down on my couch and just have you read to me. So
I've heard that quite a bit, but yes, audiobook narrator. I have to date, narrated and published 15 different titles with 11 different authors, which that's not a lot, but, you know, for someone who didn't start out thinking that I was going to be a narrator, I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. So it actually
fantastic.
It came about because of my son, who is a fantastic voice actor, and he has his own podcast and does audio dramas. So if you think like old time radio theater, sort of, kind of, he does that, but it's all him. All of the characters are him, and all of the musical interludes, everything, all the sound effects, it's all him. So anyhow, all that to say is when he was younger, actually, the first time he started was he just took a Bible story and he read straight through, changed his voice, and it was actually the scene with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And, okay, we need you to bow, and when you hear the sound of the zither, and then, and he did all of the things with his mouth. And I'm like, this kid is amazing. He would be really good at audiobooks. And so I would keep bringing it to him and keep bringing it to him, and he was not interested. He did not want to read anybody else's stories. So he has since started writing his own. But in the back of my head, I'm thinking, I can do this. One of these days, I'm going to do this. And I've decided one of these days is no longer in my vocabulary because we're just lying to ourselves. I no longer use that phrase. So at some point, I decided, nope, I'm doing it. And it was actually 2016. I went ahead and enrolled in a class, and I think it was only 5 weeks. Learned how to do audiobook narration. Went ahead and auditioned for, 5-6 different books. And within 2 weeks, I had my first offer to go ahead and do a book. And I'm like, this is amazing. So yeah, what's crazy though is I don't listen to audiobooks at all. I'd much rather read. And even when I listen to myself too long, I put myself to sleep. So I get it. I get it.
That's awesome.
I can't help it.
There's just something soothing, so peaceful.
Thank you. Well, I actually have a podcast that I've not done anything with for a good little while. But what I found that I really enjoy is doing YouTube videos. So I'll take images and do the voiceover for that. And again, these are just positive messages. That one is simply called Simply Seeking Good. So I'm just using my voice for good. Again, allowing people to press pause, take 3, 4, 5 minutes. They're not long at all. And currently there's only 3 videos on there, but I was pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoy doing that. Similarly to narration, after I got through the 8th book, I'm like, I really enjoy this. I love doing this. So now I get to teach people how to do it.
Yeah. Would you consider narrating or putting together a meditation series?
I have. Yes, you're not the first one. It's more, okay, God, I hear you. Yeah.
Because I would buy that yesterday.
Yeah.
I love some guided meditation. Yeah, love it.
No, would love to. I guess I don't want to be the one to write it, though. So
it would be a lot like what you're doing with the Simply Seeking Good, just good things.
Yeah.
Because I know Brian Orm does it too. He's got some. Yeah. Have you listened to his?
I've heard some of his, yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
So it's like that, just you could probably read a cereal box and people would be okay with it.
Oh, no, that's cute.
It's just the tone of your voice that I like, because there's not a lot of people. It is. It's the rhythm and the speed. What is that called? The
cadence.
The cadence. That's the word I was looking for. It's the cadence and the tone for me that I like about your voice. Because I get some audiobooks. Girl, the one I'm in now, I'm like, oh, Lord. Why did you get chose to read this book?
Yeah.
It's hard.
I will say that for the Bible. When I want to just listen to the Bible while I'm doing something else, I'm like, oh, I can't stand this person. Yeah, that's...
Hey, so why don't you do one?
Hey, I might. I
'Cause that
might.
would be cool
I've
because
recorded
there aren't a lot of women readers, Bible
chapters.
readers out there. They're all
You know
men.
what? I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I
I
don't
have
know
not
that
thought about that.
any of them are women. We all like James Earl Jones reading the Bible,
Yes.
but
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think your voice would be great.
Well, thank you. I've recorded chapters of Proverbs more for a private group kind of thing. So, things that make you go,
You know, I'm a dreamer. I could dream with you all day long.
outstanding.
That's
Outstanding. I
funny.
love it.
So, staying in this vein, talk about the sound of your story, the sound of story, and then your story, your sound. Both of those are kind of different, but it goes
Yeah,
with just activating your voice and telling your story.
correct. Yes, I'm in the process of producing a course for authors to do narration for your own book. And so I am calling that the sound of story. So I've taught it one time, actually, but now I'm going to go ahead and turn it into an actual course that you can purchase. Very small lessons not being longer than 8 minutes each one. You go through it at your own pace. But yes, I highly, highly encourage if you have a book, even if you have a pamphlet, whatever it is you have, to record yourself reading it. AI can never, ever, ever replace your frequency. The earth needs to hear you, your sound, your tone, your cadence, your everything. The earth is waiting on you. So don't even be concerned about, oh, I don't think my voice is that great. Well, the other thing about doing audiobook narration is a very intimate experience for those of you that do like to listen. You know, if you've got that author, that narrator in your ear, you're in somebody's head in a way that you wouldn't be able to do any other way. So, highly, highly encourage all people to look into that. And if you don't want to record it yourself, still, it's your words. And let me just say, that's something I remember. I don't remember the exact date, but I remember in the middle of recording one of those titles, I stopped in the studio for whatever reason that day. It was like, Lord, these are not your words, but it's your sound coming through me. I pray that they have an encounter with you through my sound. And since that day, my voice has taken on a different, otherworldly kind of frequency, I feel. So, but with that being said, still your words matter as well. And so people that don't like to read will listen. So you're missing out on an opportunity, major opportunity. You're going to get around the world a lot faster with a spoken book than you will with a printed material or even digital for someone to download it on a Kindle or something. So,
Yeah,
go ahead.
because we can, because I know I don't listen to, most of what I listen to audiobook is fiction. But actually, I listen to a lot of everything on audio, but I do it while I'm driving,
Right.
you know, and especially if you commute to work. I know I have a lot of friends. That's when the podcast, faith comes by hearing,
Yes.
and everything is kingdom.
Yes.
We don't have to be just listening to the Bible. There are so many good books out there that are, quote, not Christian. They're secular, which don't even get me started on that us versus them topic. But I have learned so much and I have changed so much by having audiobooks going. And I get there different people learn in different ways. There are visual learners, there's audio learners, it's whatever. But I'll go out and I'll get on my motorcycle and I'll be gone for 2 and 3 hours, and I'll finish a third of an audiobook just riding around or on my bicycle. I go out here on this, we have a rail trail, and it goes for like 140 miles right now, I think. I don't ride the whole thing. But, I'll go out for 30, 40 miles, which is a couple hours on my bicycle, and I am on my bike, turning my legs and listening, and I just go, and it gets in my soul, the stuff. Now, if I want to highlight and study things, I'll get the paper version.
Sure.
But usually, if I just want to consume information, then it's an audiobook. And it's especially now, just as mobile as people are, the audio is so much better. Now, I will say there's nothing like curling up on the couch right in front of a fire, because that's what I do in the wintertime. You will catch me in front of my fireplace all winter long reading something.
Yeah.
But yeah, audio is it's a thing. It's what we need to do and what we need to get into. Talk about your story, your sound for a minute.
Yes. So your story, your sound is something that I will be launching probably in January 2024. In the cancer space, something that I actually recognize God wants me to do too is I'll be stepping into getting certified as a holistic cancer coach. And as I'm encountering women that are on the journey, just getting started with the journey, tail end of the journey, whatever it is, any woman who has been through breast cancer, I guess it could be any cancer, my goal, if you will, is to encourage them to write, to tell their story, and eventually to have it turned into an audiobook, because their story does have a sound. And even if it's not in audio format, writing it is powerful. The cancer journey, even though you may have lots of people around you, is still can be a lonely journey, because if you don't know anybody else that's been through it, but even if they have, it's still you. It's still you sitting in that infusion chair. It's still you laying in the bed wishing somebody could bring you a cup of water. It's still you. So you had some thoughts. You've had some encounters. You've had encounters when you've gone to the doctor. You've had encounters being in the store when people are looking at you kind of funny, or you have a story and people want to hear it. So that's my desire, is to be able to come alongside, and I don't know if you want to say mentor or not, but just to be an ear and a voice, a way to help draw some of that stuff out. And what I've found in writing my own book too is that so much transformation happens when you write about a personal encounter. Even if it's just one story out of the thousands of stories that you've had in your life, you're going to be transformed when you step back into it to look at it from now it's happened. Mm-hmm. And how do you want to convey it? Again, who are you writing it to? Firstly, is it something that you want to publish, which I'm going to encourage them to do? Who are you writing it to? What is it you want to impart to them? And I don't know so much, who do you want to be on the other side of it? I don't think you can ever predict that part. One of the things I want to say here in just the last few minutes is forgiveness is a big part of all healing. And I genuinely believe, you can't tell me otherwise, I don't know how we can disprove it, but I believe cancer came into my body because I was so bitter and I had so much unforgiveness. There was much unforgiveness in my life. Now, the thing is, I think the cancer developed, forgiveness happened, restoration happened, everything was good, but that thing was still there. And so I genuinely believe any sickness, a headache, a stubbed toe. It's like, ooh, who do I need to forgive? Forgive myself. I should have put on shoes before I went around the corner. I think there's something powerful in that. And yeah, you'll have to have me back when the book is published, because there's so much that I have learned in this process.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and that's true. I mean, and I'm thankful for science proving that our emotions, I mean, like, people are now getting it, that our unhealed heart affects our physical body. You know, whether it's anger, the unforgiveness. I mean, you have anger because you're not forgiving somebody, you know. Like my father died at the age of 42 of a heart attack. He was undiagnosed bipolar because, like, you know, men don't go to the doctor. So, you know, there's that. But, you know, we're talking 1985 is when he died. And the rage that he would have, and just the anger that was in him. And when they did the biopsy, he had one chamber of his heart. The other three were just shredded. Like, literally, like, he died at home, and I gave him CPR and all of that until the paramedics got there and stuff. And then he died like 9 more times before they just called it and just said, he just can't, we're done. And then when they did that, the autopsy to look at everything, yeah, wow. It was bad. And I know, the more stories I hear of family and things like that, I'm like, yeah, that explains a lot. So for me, I've had to forgive a lot because I don't want to go that route. I don't want that family stuff happening to me. I don't want that stuff in my DNA. I don't want that stuff in my lineage. I don't want that stuff handed down to my children. And all of those are very real possibilities when we don't acknowledge the cross properly, and their forgiveness and what Christ actually did so that we could live in freedom and health and wholeness, body, spirit, soul, like a complete thing, you know? And
100%.
So, yeah,
and
I
to
think
your
we'll
point,
land there. Go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to add, the forgiveness of those people around us, for sure. But number one, forgive yourself.
Oh,
I mean, that one, that's an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
You got to be able to forgive yourself.
Yeah, because there are people out there that get sick, like, oh my God, I hated it. And if I was the person I am today, like, hindsight's 20, like, we all wish we knew 20 years ago. But when I first got saved, we were at a church with a pastor, and he got cancer. And he got up on stage every Sunday and cried and preached that God gave him that cancer.
Oh my.
Because, like, from the pulpit, he was saying these things, that God made him sick. Or the other thing that we say is, God allowed me to be sick so that I could minister, and now I'm like, okay, so the cross wasn't good enough. Jesus needed you too. I'm like, let's not even go there. Come on now. But yeah, it was just the things that we think around illness, like, we deserve it. No, we don't deserve anything. When we say we deserve anything, we deserve to be broke, or we deserve to be sick, or we deserve to be alone. That's just, to me, that's just crapping on the cross. That's like, there's no faith in that. That tells me that you absolutely don't believe the finished work of the cross and what Christ did. So that's a rant. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. Good rant. I started it.
Yeah, it's all good. Well, I think we'll land the plane here, because I do want you to come back when you get all your balls and rolling, and get this what were you launching on the 1st? I didn't write it down. Sorry. On December 1st?
The box.
The box. Okay, that's right.
My
That's what I was
powerful
gonna
care
say.
box.
So we'll have that information available in the show notes, and then any links and anything to connect with Tonya will be in the notes, and then we'll have you back in January, February to talk about how it's going and how it was received and how you've had to hire people and hire workspace to make it all function like we want it functioning. And then, we'll have to have a talk, because I'm thinking there's might be some pieces of little art that might need to go in those boxes too.
I sure hope so. I sure hope so. That'd be great.
A little bit of something. I got plenty of art friends that would love to connect in that way and get some prophetic art into some hands of some people.
Yes.
Even if we had a couple things done and then made prints from them. Mm-hmm. But it's also really cool to get original pieces of art.
Yes.
So.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Ooh,
look forward to it.
Got a little bit excited up on that. So. Any last words, my friend?
Well, it has been just a real pleasure to take this time, converse with you, and just thank you. And I pray that something that I've said, something that you said, is a form of encouragement to a beautiful one out there today. Just know that you're loved. There's nothing you can do about it. You're loved. You're loved.
Yeah.
And you're taken care of. And can't wait to join you again on another day.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, with that said, my friends, we are going to sign off here. Thanks for joining us. If this was your first time listening, I hope you really got something out of it. Because cancer's cancer. While Tonya, went through breast cancer, I'm sure she could still help out if it's another kind of cancer. I don't know. Because there's still thoughts and feelings and emotions and processing and all the things. And, so reach out to me and I'll get you connected with her if that's what you can desire. If what you would like to do, I guess. If this is your second or third or fourth time back, thanks for being consistent. I'm glad that you came back. And either way, I would love for y'all to tell all your friends and talk about us, share it. If you can, rate it, give us some thumbs up, some stars, some hearts, whatever the social media requires for us to stay at the forefront of people, because our stories matter, our voice matters. And when I have folks on, it's because someone else out there needs to hear them, and this is the connection way that it needs to happen. Because we can't travel around the world talking to everybody. There's 7 billion people on this planet, and we can't talk to everyone face to face. So I appreciate you and look forward to hanging out with you next time. Thanks. Thanks for joining us on today's episode of After the Well. We hope you really liked it. We would love to hear your feedback. Give us some likes, some reviews, some love. Share it with your friends. All the links and information are in the comments or in the show notes of the episode that you're currently listening to. Thanks, and we look forward to hanging out with you again.